Good morning and welcome to the Cycle 365. I am your co-host Kodey Stoffer.
And I'm your other co-host, Simon Villanos.
And we're here to talk sports and do a little bit of analysis, right, Simon?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to start off, since this is the pilot episode, with just some introductions. I'm Kodey Stoffer. I am a junior at the University of Northern Colorado.
My name is Simon Villanos, and I am a senior at UNC, and I'm a proud PE major.
Anyways, and we also wanted to talk a little bit about our experience in sport and then some stories or memories involving sport that are dear to us. So you kind of have an inside look on what kind of fans we are and the things that pique our interest. I personally played football for 7 years from middle school to the end of high school, playing in the early stages linebacker and eventually playing wideout through all of high school. It was a fun experience, and also played a little bit of baseball somewhere in there. Some cross country and track and field were my particular sports that I played.
Nice. So for me, I played a lot of sports growing up. But really, football was the main one because I grew up in Texas. After that, basketball and track were like huge off-season sports for me. And then since I think around the age of 6 or 7, I've been boxing. So I've been training, doing all that stuff, sparring, and I've just been doing that for as long as I can remember.
Simon, quick question. What's one of your favorite personal sports memories? So involving you as an individual in sport, whether you were playing, coaching, something like that. But not spectating.
Oh, okay, so not spectating. Dang, that's hard. That's hard, because I feel like for every athlete, it's hard to pick out that one, like, great sports memory, especially if they've been playing multiple sports. But honestly, I'll have to go with football. I think it was, like, in middle school. And, in Texas, like, no matter what level of football, it means a lot. It could be peewee, it could be middle school, it could be high school, it could be even 7-on-7 in the spring. But people want to win no matter what. And like naturally, as you play against other like opponents, like natural rivalries just build up. So I remember it was the 8th grade. What was it? Rival middle school of my middle school.
Oh yeah, because you guys actually have rivalries in middle school football in Texas.
Hey, we did. They were rivals when my brother went there, and he's 9 years older than me. So this rivalry has been going on for a really long time. And can I name drop? Is that okay?
Go for it.
I bet. All right, y'all. Y'all know what it is. So I was a Carpenter Cowboy down in Plano, Texas. And we played against, I don't even know what their mascot is. I just know their name is Hendrick. And they're like supposed to be way more bougie than us, but we lived in the same area and we were like the poor kids. It was crazy, but we've always hated them. And like between football, basketball, and track, we've always went back and forth, and that's like a historical thing, and it's still that way today. I remember in that first game, like it was so hyped up because we've been the trash team for almost 10 years. Like we haven't had a winning season basically since my older brother was in middle school.
That's tough.
So we were trying to change that dynamic, and we had a new head coach and everything. So I just remember that whole first game. That was a great memory because right off the bat, we brought back the returning kick for a touchdown. And then that game, I got like 6 sacks, and like it was crazy. And we were just whooping on him. And we beat them like 50-0 pretty much. And that kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. And like the whole school was hyped, and our like fan section was going wild with those cowboys. Like, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what it is. Oh yeah. Like it set the tone for real for the season. So that's honestly my favorite personal sports memory. So yeah.
That's a solid one. That's a solid one.
What about you?
See, I also have to go with football, but this one takes place in high school, and it takes place all the way out in Grand Junction. It's such a long bus trip. It's like 4 to 5 hours
from anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were coming from Centennial. I went to Arapahoe, and we were facing against Grand Junction. And when you take a bus trip that's that long, you do not want to lose and take that bus trip back.
Facts.
Because, well, there's no talking on the bus after a loss, right? There's no having fun. You just lost, all right? Wallow. You got to be sad or upset. You're not allowed to enjoy yourself. So we really wanted to win this game, and I played all across the field from slot receiver to the X to the Z, but I primarily played X and slot. But the Z receiver was having a tough day, had a couple drops, ran a couple wrong routes. They're like, Kodey, can you play Z? It's like, all right, we're running a hitch and go on the first play. I was like, oh, all right, let's get it. So, because we'd already ran the sprint quick hitch multiple times.
Right.
And I looked at this kid across from me, I was like, oh no, he's so done. He doesn't know it yet, but he's done. So I come out, I really plant that fake hitch step, and he bites so hard, he flies past me, and I'm all by myself. 40 yards later, good times. And we won that game, got some Jimmy Johns afterwards, and, had a fun ride back. Well, as fun as a ride back from Grand Junction can be anyway.
Wait, hold up. So did Coach pay for the Jimmy Johns, or did all y'all have to pay for yourself?
We didn't have to pay for ours. We had food. I don't know where it came from, but okay. I didn't spend any money out of pocket, so I wasn't too upset about it.
Hey, that's the best, though. That's the best.
Yeah, so victory sandwiches, victory ride back. I mean, with some victory naps, all good times on the way back from Grand Junction. Very solid memory in high school football and football in general. So
okay, nice.
Now, what's your favorite spectating sports memory? This could be a live event. This could be watching it on TV. But as a sports fan, what is your favorite memory? Because that becomes a little bit different with the emotion that is invested into a spectating role versus a player role.
Yeah, Alright, so I'm really having to think about this because I'm from Dallas. So obviously I'm a Mavericks fan, so when we won it in 2011, that was a big deal. But that's a close second because I really think there's nothing like a live sports experience to really get you going and make that memory. So we go to the University of Northern Colorado. They're a D1 school, but lower D1, so FCS, right? I think we're in the Big Sky Conference.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So we're in the Big Sky Conference. And I know some guys on the basketball team, so that's another reason why this is a big memory for me. But our basketball team is pretty good, both of them, men's and women's. We're honestly, in my opinion, the best men's college basketball team in Colorado, at least. And we have a lot of potential. I was a freshman, so this was a couple of years ago. But we didn't make the NCAA tournament because we barely lost out to Montana, who is really our only roadblock up to now, and it's like 3 years later still. So we're still hoping to get over it, and I think we will. We didn't make it, but we made it to one of those secondary, postseason tournaments?
It was another bracket. It was the NIT?
Yeah.
I think it was? Yeah. So as opposed to the big one, we still made it to another postseason bracket.
Yeah. It's like
CIT.
Oh, yeah, it was the CIT. It was the CIT, not even the NIT.
There's a couple of them, so it's easy to get mixed up and jumbled about it.
Yeah, but it was kind of a big deal because there are other schools that were kind of at our level, like lower Division 1, right? There were no D2 schools, obviously. So, lower Division 1. Luckily, our college got to host the thing, so it was already a big deal. And our team made it all the way to the championship. And I remember I didn't go to any of the other games but this one because I didn't think we were going to make it that far because I haven't been following the team as much. We made it there, and, we set all these records because everyone else had the same idea, and the place was packed. Like, we broke the record for the most people, like, in that stadium ever. I forgot what it was, but it was in the thousands for sure. And it was crazy, and the student section was popping off, and we had all these chants that literally I've never heard before earlier in the season or in any of the other sports seasons, like in football. They were going off, and I remember our professors. they were at the game, and some of the stuff they heard definitely disappointed them. But hey, you have to be that rabid fan base, in my opinion, to really get that win. And it was a close game. We went up big, and then they came back real fast, and then it just kind of stayed there for a while. And honestly, the memory I remember most from that game, there was 40 seconds left. We were inbounding it. I think we were up by 3. And basketball-wise, it may not have been the smartest play, but it was because it got everyone so hyped. So, everyone was cheering UNC. And basically, the center took off down court, and the guy inbounding it just chucked it all the way down. Like, just imagine, like, a Hail Mary pass, and it was right on the money. He caught it, and, like, the defense is all behind him, and he just took, like, 2 or 3 dribbles, and then he slammed the basketball as hard as he could, and the whole stadium went wild, and, like, you couldn't hear anything for the next couple minutes.
Called game.
Oh, yeah, basically, and we were up by 5. There's still, like, 30 seconds left, so they had a chance, and, like, the other team was shook. And they literally, like, forced a 3, and then that's how we won, and we stormed the court, and that had to be my favorite memory, like, hands down. Favorite, like, college memory even, and, like, life memory as well. So that was my favorite sports memory, really, ever. What about yours?
My favorite memory as a spectator, I mean, like you said, going to a live event is one thing. Yes. So I remember back when I want to say it was 2007, maybe 2006. It was a Broncos-Bengals game on Christmas Eve. And I went with my dad, and it was snowing out, and it was really cold, and it was a slow game. Jay Cutler was still on the team, just for, like, a benchmark on how long ago this was, and Carson Palmer was still playing for the Bengals. So, way throwback, and we sat next to this really nice Bengals fan who bought me this Rod Smith poster, which was dope as heck, because Rod Smith was my favorite player at the time. If you don't know who Rod Smith is for the Denver Broncos, look him up. Greatest undrafted player of all time, in my opinion. But anyways, it was a back-and-forth game, back-and-forth. We were winning 24-17, and the Bengals scored with about a minute left. And I was like, dang it. Like, they're going to kick the PAT, and we're going to get tied. But the snap was a little high, and the guy who holds the ball in place, the ball slipped out of his hands. And the Bengals didn't get the extra point attempt, and we won by 1 freaking point. And I remember just partying on the light rail on the way back and just having a good old time. And, like, even my dad was celebrating, because he's not normally a Broncos fan, but because he took me to the game, it was my first Broncos game ever, was another part that made it so magical. It's just a crazy environment. And the way that we won was hilarious, in my opinion, that it came down to the Bungalows bungling it up. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, as a Steelers fan, that makes me very happy. I hate the Bengals. I hate them. So was this a playoff game, or was this regular season?
Regular season.
Okay.
Second to last game. Yeah, second to last game of the season, being that, it was Christmas Eve.
Right.
And then, obviously, the Broncos winning the Super Bowl is my favorite event that I've ever seen on TV, because nothing beats it, man. Von Miller just absolutely owning Cam Newton that entire game.
True.
And DeMarcus Ware, that defense was so fun to watch. And C.J. Anderson, I remember I wanted to get a C.J. Anderson jersey just because he popped off that game. And Peyton Manning riding out on top. You can't beat that. I was celebrating for the rest of the school year after that win.
That's a good one. That's a good one for sure, though.
That does it for the opening segment of the Cycle 365. Simon, what are some of the handles for the Cycle? Where can you find the Cycle on social media?
All right, so on Twitter, it's just the Cycles 365, no spaces or anything like that, or underscores. On Instagram, it's _cycle_365, and then you can find us on Facebook as well. I think it's just as the Cycle. We have a blue logo basically with some white lettering inside. If you don't know what it is,
and from there you'll be able to find who all is a part of this. We'll be having a website up soon. Where you will find, hopefully, these podcasts, some YouTube videos, as well as some articles and stuff like that. But we're excited for this journey in sports media, and we're excited for anyone who wants to jump on.
For sure, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cycle 365 podcast. I am your co-host, Cody Stoffer, here with
your other co-host, Simon Villanos.
And we got some NCAA football on tap right now, right, Simon?
Yep. So let's do this thing.
All right. So looking at the top 25 currently, we're going to do this thing where we talk about the top 4 and then talk about 2 teams that we think could potentially enter the top 4 by season's end, correct?
Yep.
All right. So we got Clemson at number 1 for the first time ever, and this is the AP top 25 preseason poll, as well as Bama at 2, Georgia at 3, and Oklahoma at 4. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this top 4, and which teams if you're going to bring in 2 new teams, which 2 teams do you think are going to stay in this top 4?
Ooh. Wait, which 2 teams will stay in the top 4?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to have to go a little bit safe here. But for sure, Clemson. Nobody really talks about how weak the ACC is. Really think about who's in the ACC and who's good. Because since Lamar Jackson played, Clemson has had no competition. So they're gonna play, some good teams outside of their conference. I'm pretty sure they have some SEC teams. But after that, really, they have an easy schedule. So I think Clemson will make it for sure. Despite losing some people, right?
Mm-hmm. Their entire defensive line.
Yeah.
To the draft.
But I think offensively they're too good. So they're too good to not make it, and so I think they will. And then after that, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit, off off the script right here. But I think Georgia is another team that'll make it in.
Oh, Georgia over Bama?
Yeah. Here, let me go on a little rant real quick, actually. This is the perfect time.
What better time than on the show, baby?
Exactly. So, people who know me, for like in college, right? And they know my sports preferences, they know that I love Tua Tagovailoa. Like, I've been watching this kid since high school, since he was like a junior, and I think he's a stud. I think he's great. And then, when he won the national championship, I was like going off, like, dude, he was the truth. But, after the season, I'm really not so sure. I still like him as a person and as a player, but, there's the injuries, and then there's the fact that he really hasn't played a full, like, huge game yet. Man, even that conference championship against Georgia, Jalen Hurts had to come in and play a bit of that. And, like, with the same with the national championship, Jalen Hurts played the first half of that. So, I think this is a big proving year. In my opinion, I really like Jake Fromm, and I've liked him just as much as Tua, honestly, but I haven't talked about him as much. He was on that one show, I don't know if you've watched it, Cody, but it's called QB1. It's on Netflix right now.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it personally.
It's a good one. I just finished the 3rd season. They featured Spencer Rattler, the number 1 quarterback out of Arizona, Nick Scalzo, some, 3-star guy that's going to Kentucky. He plays in Florida, I think. And then Lance Lejeune from Louisiana. I believe he's going to Maryland. He did commit to Kansas, then decommit. So anyways, it's a great
tough
show.
For Kansas.
Well, they'll be okay.
Well,
probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Kansas. They got basketball.
Oh, yeah. But for real, though, that kid, Lance Lejeune, he was probably my favorite quarterback. Anyways, that's not the point. So, Jake Fromm on QB1 was one of my favorite quarterbacks. Honestly, he just seems like a down-to-earth, nice guy. And then he's a baller for sure. When he goes into those games, and he gets sacked, oh, man. He doesn't really get frustrated or rattled. He's all like, oh, man. Gosh darn it. He's from Georgia, so you know what it is. Like, gosh darn it. And then he'll get up and then throw like a 50-yard touchdown after that. He's the real deal. And I really like Jake Fromm. And a lot of people have been disrespecting him, but I think he's going to be motivated. He's just such a good quarterback, and just his character, like, I like it a lot. And I think it speaks a lot. Not that Tua doesn't have great character, but Jake Fromm has really not been hurt ever. So I'm picking Georgia right there. What about you?
Okay, well, I've been kind of looking at some of these schedules, and I'm actually going to keep Clemson in the top 4 to make it, because there's no one on their schedule that really jumps out to me as a threat.
Right.
I mean, they don't face a single top 10 team all season. The only ranked opponents that they have on the schedule right now is Texas A&M the second week, and Syracuse after that, which Syracuse, they could potentially be a challenge to them. But like you said, the ACC, like UNC isn't ranked, Florida State isn't ranked, and they're not going to be.
No,
they're not going to be ranked teams. Louisville isn't going to be ranked. So it's on Clemson if they don't make the Final Four, because they should go undefeated this season.
Easily, yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to actually pick Oklahoma to also finish in the top 4. Now, I know that comes off a little biased, but also looking at their schedule, it's not an SEC schedule like Georgia or Bama are facing. Georgia and Bama, I feel like, are going to lose games this year.
Okay.
And, they don't face each other in the regular season, but once again, if one of them won't make it if they end up playing each other in the SEC championship, more than likely.
Right, yeah.
Especially if they each have one loss apiece. I mean, Georgia has to face off against Florida this year, and they got to face off against Notre Dame. Hey, they're both top-ranked, top 10 teams right now at the beginning of the season.
Well, preseason top
10. And they face Texas A&M as well and Auburn. And Auburn's always been a bit of a scrappy team in the SEC.
Right. And
then you have Bama, who has, they have to face off against LSU, who is a top 10 team right now, and Texas A&M. And, a lot of these teams face Texas A&M, and Texas isn't going to lose all 10 games this year. So something's got to give against one of these top 4 teams. And they finished the season against Auburn as well. So the competition is just so different. And, going undefeated helps your chances more than losing 2 or 3 games in a tougher schedule. And the only huge challenge that I see Oklahoma having this year is Texas. And I'm not too worried about it.
Okay.
If I'm being completely honest. Okay. I am worried about it. But, it is in Texas. That is a bit concerning, but I'm not as concerned for Oklahoma winning the rest of these games as I am for Georgia or Bama to win the rest of these games, if that makes sense.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So, what are the 2 teams that you see pushing into the top 4?
Ooh. All right. So, obviously these are all hypotheticals. One of these teams will probably make it. The other one, not so much. So, let's see. So here, I'm going to go with the one that you just mentioned, because I think that's a good segue. Texas. I think they could easily make it in. Honestly, I do think whoever wins the Big 12 will make it in. It kind of came down to that last year and some of the other years. Well, not really some of the other years, but mostly last year. So, I think it'll be a repeat of that. Whoever wins this regular season game probably won't matter as much as whoever wins the conference championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So honestly, I think it will come down to the conference championship, right? But I'll admit I'm a little bit biased because I've been a Texas fan forever, right? I grew up in Dallas, but I really do think that Tom Herman, Sam Ehlinger, and this Texas team can will themselves into the playoffs. I'll be real, they're not the most talented. I'll give them that. They have some talent though. So let's start with Sam Ehlinger, the quarterback, right? He finished outside the Heisman voting. He was a Heisman candidate, but he's a good player. He's such a good player. I think he would take a really big step this next year. He's giving off real Tim Tebow vibes as a leader of the team, and as a player. I think he's somebody who could literally will a team into the playoffs at least. And then once you're in the playoffs, really anything could happen.
He opened up as plus 1,500 odds to win the Heisman, which is the 7th best.
What?
In Vegas right now. Sam Ehlinger, yeah. He's just behind Jake Fromm.
Okay. Well, I'll give him that. I'm trying to see who else is on here.
well, I'm just adding on a note about Sam Ehlinger.
Okay. All right, fair. But yeah, so I believe in Sam Ehlinger. I think he's going to have to take another step if they're going to want to get into the playoffs, which I think they can. Probably as the 4 seed though, but I think they can. And then on the other side of the ball, they have 2 rising sophomores, true sophomores, in B.J. Foster and Caden Stearns. Both of them played safety. They both played last year, and they did pretty well for pretty much teenagers, right? So this year, they got another year under their belt. They're ready to go. They're special players, trust me. They're both from Texas. I got to watch them both in high school, and they're great players. And I think they'll take that Texas defense to the next level. And honestly, if I'm just being real, I think they might edge that Oklahoma defense to a degree. Not because they have experience, because they have talent. These guys are both 5-star guys, I'm pretty sure, as well. So I think Texas can make it in. Here, before I say my second team, how about you go? How about you choose a team?
Okay. I'd say that my first team would be Oregon.
Okay.
Kind of talking about, diversity from the conferences. I see Oregon as the favorite out of the Pac-12.
Okay.
They do start off pretty rough by opening the season in Auburn. But after that, it starts to mellow out a little bit. And, their biggest challenge is Washington and Washington State. But Oregon's got a new defensive coordinator from Boise State.
Right.
And he's going to change up that defense a little bit. And I see that making a huge difference because their offense is fine, especially with their quarterback returning from last year. They're going to be able to put up points. You and I, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
And I feel like a change of pace and a new scheme is what they've needed on defense. And this is a defense that's going to be a bit more aggressive, you know, and they can kind of play with their ears pinned back. You know what I'm saying? I feel like allowing the players to play like that. And you mentioned that they even got a really highly touted recruit just this last class.
They did.
Kayvon Thibodeau. And, you know, with that influx of talent and new change of pace and defensive coordinator, I feel like they could definitely make a push for the top 4.
Right.
Because their offense is definitely top 4 worthy. And, like, the Oregon offense can hang with the Clemson offense, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma. It can hang with any of those offenses easily. And I feel like their defense is ready to take that next step. They had a lot of young guys last year, I feel like. And just another year, you know, getting used to, like, the college football environment, first and foremost, is one thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with that under their belt, along with this new defensive coordinators, inspired a lot of confidence. And they've even changed up little things like the dieting in the locker room. And these linebackers are getting a lot bigger and they're more lean at the same time. They're not sacrificing speed while getting bigger. And I feel like that's going to be a huge addition for that Oregon team to make a push for the top 4.
All right.
Who's your other surprise team to make the top 4?
Really, I wouldn't say surprise. I mean,
well, you're right, because Texas is 10 and Oregon's 11, so they're still ranked.
Right. This is just me, but I really don't think anybody outside of the top 15 will make into the college football playoffs. Like, I think they might have a chance, but it'll be more luck than anything. So, I'm gonna pick a fairly safe one. A lot of people have picked this team just because, you know, 2 SEC teams, or really 2 teams from the same conference, won't make it into the top 4, you know, more or less, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go with Ohio State. They're literally right outside at number 5. But here's the thing with Ohio State.
Is that Urban Meyer isn't there?
Yeah, okay, well, Urban Meyer isn't there. I almost forgot about that. I do like Ryan Day, though. He's been their OC for a while, right? Mm-hmm. He's recruited well. They still have a lot of talent there, like, you know, Urban Meyer's talent. But the talent is still there. They got a great defensive end in Chase Young. He's supposed to take over for Bosa. They got, you know, the transfer quarterback, another guy from QB1, Justin Fields. Justin Fields is somebody that I'm kind of worried about, because there's no doubt that this Ohio State team is talented, but with Justin Fields, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the starter, right? I just don't believe in him. I really don't. And it's not because I think he's a bad player, because obviously he was, like, you know, one of the top quarterbacks in the country just a couple years ago. The top dual threat quarterback, in fact. But I don't know. I don't know where his mentality's at, honestly. And here's some, like, I don't want to look too deep into QB1, because I know I've brought it up. But I like Jake Fromm, right? And then Justin Fields came into the second season, and there's just something about him that, like, mentally, that I was like, I don't know. I just don't know. Like, with Jake Fromm, I'm like, all right, this is my guy. Like, this is somebody who could go in, play his heart out. With Justin Fields, you know, just watching him play, and then sometimes he just wouldn't make the right play, and mentally he'd get shook and all that. Like, it rubbed me wrong, obviously, more than not, because it's been a couple years since, it's been like a year since I've seen that season of QB1, and it still rubs me wrong how, like, I just didn't like him. I thought he was a great player, but, like, mentally and character-wise, I don't know where he's at. He's still a young guy, too. Like, he's a true sophomore, I believe, right? So he has 3 more years. But I just don't think this year, you know, they'll make it in because of his talent. They'll make it in because they're a talented team. But I could definitely see Justin Fields be the guy that holds them back a little bit. Or he might be the guy that gets them in. Either way, in the conference they play, there's really no real threats. Like, you kind of got Michigan, but I'll be honest, I've kind of written them off.
See, I think it's funny that you bring that up, because I have Michigan as my team to jump into the top 4 because of Urban Meyer's absence. I feel like Urban Meyer, more than, you know, they've had a couple of humps the past few years. They got that punt that got blocked by Michigan State that ruined their season, and they haven't been able to beat Ohio State with all the chips on the table, including the throttling that they experienced last year.
True.
But I feel like this Michigan team is ready to take a step forward, and it's not because of the Michigan team itself, I guess. This team is consistently ranked in the top 20. They find themselves in the top 10, and they're competing for the conference championship basically every year, right?
Yeah.
But they can't get over Ohio State, and I think that the opportunity is now for Michigan to make that leap, to take advantage of Ryan Day being a brand new head coach. I mean, Ryan Day, like you said, he was the offensive coordinator last year, and he was the quarterback's coach back in 2017.
Right.
He's worked with Chip Kelly. He knows how to run an offense, but I want to see what he does with the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he's probably not going to be calling plays for them, but I wonder how that's going to affect in, like you said, Justin Fields. What does he do with that quarterback, and how will it work in the system? I mean, Justin Fields, I feel like is going to play lights out this year.
Okay.
But when it comes to the championship, will Jim Harbaugh, and his experience be able to overcome the Justin Fields phenomena that is happening at the time? And, what will Michigan be able to do to counter that? And I feel like now is a good time as any for Michigan to make that leap. And if they win, they got a really tough schedule this year. I'm not saying that it's light,
right,
but you need a representative from that conference to make it into the top 4, basically, by season's end in the college football playoff. And I feel like now is the time because of Ohio State. I'm not convinced of Ohio State, and I'm not sure what to think of Ryan Day quite yet.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, yeah, that's fair. I think Ryan Day, he's a great OC. He's a great offensive guy, and I'm pretty sure he'll be calling the plays, right? So he'll be calling the plays for them. I think this offense will definitely be productive, efficient. We'll see. Like I said, it's all on Justin Fields. I don't doubt Ryan Day as much as I doubt Justin Fields. He's a talent, but he's a raw talent. He's somebody that you kind of got to throw in there and then just, hope he figures it out eventually mentally.
Yeah, and there's no rush also for Justin Fields to... he's not expected to win a college football playoff in his first year at Ohio State. So, he can round into shape by next year.
Yeah, that's true. But, Ohio State fans, y'all wanted to at least make it in because, let's be honest, this team is talented. They have as much, maybe not as much talent as a Clemson or Alabama or Georgia, but they probably have just as much as an Oklahoma or Texas or any other 4 seed that will make it in. I think they're legit. But like I said, it comes down to Justin Fields.
There's a lot of question marks on Ohio State right now with the quarterback and the coach.
Right.
There's uncertainty. It's not it's an Urban Meyer team. True. Because I bet you even with Justin Fields there, I bet you if Urban Meyer was there, you might feel a little bit better about it.
I really don't know. I sound like such a hater on Justin Fields, but I really don't know. I just don't know about this guy, really. He's a young guy. I'll give him that. So he has a lot of time. But if we're talking about this season, I really don't know. They might look great one week, and then they'll look terrible the next week. And that's probably the one loss they'll have because they always do that, right? But here, let's come back to Michigan, though, because I'm iffy on Ohio State as it is. But with Michigan, I'm a lot more iffy because they lost a lot of defensive players. Mm-hmm. Devin Bush, Chase Winovich, and those were great guys.
Yeah, they lost talent to the draft for sure.
Yeah. And then, Jim Harbaugh, I like him as a coach. But, man, when it comes to the big game, as in the Ohio State game, he just hasn't performed. His players haven't performed. And let me ask you this. If they don't make it into the college football playoffs, is Jim Harbaugh on the hot seat?
He should be.
Okay.
They're paying him college football playoff money.
Facts.
But we can leave that to the audience to just... We want to hear the fans' feedback.
Ooh.
And, you can find the cycle on Twitter, and you can give us your thoughts on the Harbaugh thing. We'll tweet that right after the show, even.
Yeah.
And respond. If Jim Harbaugh is on the hot seat, should Michigan not make the college football playoff?
Yep.
Does that include if they make top 10 ranking? You think he should still go on the hot seat? Because that is a big deal.
I mean, Should he be on the hot seat if they don't make it, or if they do?
If they do make top 10.
Okay. If they do make the top 10, yeah, I think you should be on the hot seat because, I mean, you don't bring in a coach like that wanting to make just the top 10. You bring in a coach hoping to contend every year, right?
Yeah. Coming up, XFL reactions.
Ooh.
Welcome back to The Cycle 365. I'm your co-host, Cody Stoffer.
And I'm your other co-host, Simon Villanos.
And we're going to be checking out the XFL names and logos. And for those who don't know, the XFL is the Extreme Football League, brought to you by the same people who brought you WWE. And this is the league's second attempt at being a functioning league. They were
the reboot.
They were a league back in when was the last time the XFL was a thing?
Like, pretty sure it was
early
like the
2000s,
early 2000s,
right?
Yeah.
But it only lasted like 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, it was wild.
So, and they've changed some things up. If you're an ex-convict, you can't play anymore, I don't think. I think they made that rule because they had a bunch of ex-cons, which is pretty rough. So not only can they not vote, but they also can't play in the XFL. So,
oof.
But there's, let's see, official website of the XFL.
Ooh.
It's just xfl.com. And for those who haven't seen it, there's a video from YouTube. You can find it on our social media sites. We'll make sure to retweet and post that so you can take a look at it. First quarterback to sign with the XFL is Landry Jones. Good luck with that. I can tell you as an OU fan that I don't know how that's going to work out for you.
As a Steelers fan, he's the most boring quarterback to watch.
Oh,
ever.
Man.
Ever.
So, all right. Simon, what are your thoughts on some of these teams? I guess we'll kind of talk about one team and their logo and then go on to the next one. I have the logos pulled up. You have the names pulled up.
I do.
What do we got?
Okay. Here, how about let's go. I'll go with my favorite logo, actually. And I'm biased, as always, as most people are. But
you be saying that a lot, though.
I do. But, you got to acknowledge it because it makes you legit. Anyways, so the Dallas Renegades, my favorite logo and name. First off, I feel like it fits very well. Also, in the video that they do, it's so dramatic when they announce these names and logos.
Yeah, I said that it was like a Ford commercial. It was like grit, sweat,
iron.
Yeah, that movie voice, which made it. I thought it was funny, but for some people it works. They have a thing for the drama in that WWE XFL circle.
Oh, yeah.
So.
You could feel the masculinity in every one of those trailers. If you can't feel the masculinity, then I don't know what's up with you. It don't matter who you are. I'm being honest. I'm being honest. You could feel the masculinity.
Man.
Oh my gosh. But yeah.
You can feel the masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good way of describing how those commercials went.
I know. They really want that testosterone, pumping, no matter who you are. Man or woman. Man or woman.
Child or adult.
Exactly.
Even your senior citizen. Get it pumping again.
But yeah, the Dallas Renegades, I really like that name. It reminds me kind of... You've watched Friday Night Tykes. You've watched it with me.
Yeah.
The San Antonio Outlaws.
Outlaws, yeah.
They're now in the Snoop League now. And they've won 2 national championships. Spoiler alert. Sorry. But
sorry, not sorry. You could have looked it up online.
That's true. That show's been canceled for 3 years. But it reminds me a lot of that, the Dallas Renegades, San Antonio Outlaws, and I like that a lot. And the logo is really cool too.
I really like the blue that they have going on. It's a nice light blue, but the logo still looks menacing at the same time.
It does.
Because the red eyes especially. I'm excited to see what the uniforms are going to look like from all of these teams. Personally.
For sure. That black too looks really nice. I think black and blue, especially a lighter blue, always looks really well. You can't go wrong with that ideally. but it should look pretty nice.
Yeah, and even if black is the primary, it still works out most of the time.
It always does. It always does. So what about you?
So I'd have to say, just looking at these logos, the St. Louis team, refresh me on their name, the Battlehawks. Yeah, it kind of has like the blue and white. You know, that's another color scheme that you really can't go wrong with.
Right.
And it kind of has like an Air Force vibe to me a little bit because it's a sword with the two wings. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that looks really nice, and I feel like, you know, it's nothing too extravagant or fancy. It's pretty simplistic design, and that's part of the reason I like it. It's simple, but it works.
I like it. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. A lot of these logos are actually really cool because some people, hey, I'd be looking on social media, and some people will be trashing it and be talking like, oh, they look like create a franchise Madden logos, or you know, or Team Builder in NCAA 14 or any of the NCAA games. Like,
rest in peace.
Yeah, rip. They should bring those back, but they just be roasting it like, oh, it looks so generic, it sucks. But I think it looks simplistic, but it's good. And a lot of these names are pretty good. There's not a lot of names that I don't like. There might be one or two.
I don't like the Houston Roughnecks.
Hey, I agree.
And like, our buddy John tried to advocate for it when we watched the promo video. He's like, well, the Roughnecks, you know, they're the ones doing all the dirty work and the oil drilling, and I'm just like, well, it doesn't sound like a cool football name.
It's a little bit too long. There's really only like 2 syllables in the name, but it's a little bit too long. And the logo, it looks, if you look close enough, it looks like the Astros logo.
I thought it looked like okay, now that you say that, it looks like a mixture of the Astros and the Oilers logo.
Oh, I see it too.
But now. They couldn't call it the Oilers because I'm pretty sure that the Titans own the rights to any Oilers merchandise.
Really?
Yeah, because they're the ones who bought the Oilers and moved it to Tennessee. So,
how selfish.
Yeah, that kind of stinks because the Houston Oilers in the XFL would have been cool, you know, because it would have had that classic vibe to it.
Ooh, yeah, a lot of people would have watched it too.
And I mean, like, that's basically what they're trying to call it, is the Oilers, but without calling it the Oilers, they had to call it the Roughnecks, which is rough.
Oh,
to say the least.
I just don't like that. Like, it just doesn't sound cool to me, because if you gotta explain the history of a team name or of a people, like, and you have to explain it for more than 5 minutes, it's not worth it. Ooh, or cool.
Oil culture. Yay.
Oil culture.
Stupid.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Let's see. What about you? What's probably your least favorite? I remember
least
you
favorite?
Said that you weren't a huge fan of the Washington.
Yeah. Well, the Washington Defenders. Oh my god. The Defenders isn't a bad name.
They could do worse. They could be the Roughnecks.
That's true. See, maybe it's because I don't like the Defenders name because I watched the trailer and we were kind of led on to believe, like, oh, the military, like the armed services and all that, right? Like, if they did something more, I guess, military-based, like, I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Maybe like the SEALs.
The SEAL?
Like Navy SEALs.
I was like, SEALs? That's an animal, Kodey.
Yeah, I know. Bro,
I mean...
Simon out here undermining my intelligence right now.
Okay, well, I was thinking more like the Washington Marines. I think that might be... They can't do that.
I don't think they could do that.
But it's Washington, and that would be cool, though. The Marines?
Come on, their logo is pretty whack.
It looks like... So think... For all my soccer fans out there, what's the league? The American League here?
MLS.
MLS?
League Soccer.
It looks like an MLS soccer logo. And not a good one at that. And when I think of MLS, like, they're not, no offense, but they're not that great at soccer, so I automatically look down on them, I feel. And that's just me being honest. I do. And that's how I feel about this logo and this team already.
Yeah. I also think the LA team, if you look at it, their logo is basically the Clippers logo.
Yeah.
But without the C around it. They're the Los Angeles Wildcats. So, you know, Wildcats, it's pretty hard to go wrong with that name. Their orange and red scheme, I'm interested to see what they do with it. But, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Wildcats necessarily.
Really?
Either. No.
That's funny because when I looked at it first earlier this week, I was all like, wow, that logo it's super simple. It looks cool. And then you brought it up the other day, basically, that it was the Clippers logo. And I realized that without the C, right?
Yeah, just no C around it.
But still, though, like the LA, like...
The LA is the exact same, essentially.
It looks cool to me. And maybe it's because there's a black background behind it.
She is very gorgeous to me.
I like it for its personality. That's accurate. I like it for its personality.
I personally think that the Vipers
Ooh.
looks really good. It's just a V. You know, it
Yep.
kind of looks like a Madden logo, create a team. But I feel like it looks good because it has just the right amount of yellow with the green. And you can kind of tell, like, the snake aesthetic that they're kind of going for.
Yeah. For sure. The Vipers, that's a cool football team name. But there's, like, no football teams in high school or, like, college, and definitely not professional until now, that uses that name. But the Vipers, that's a cool name. I like that.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It's original. Got to get into the predatory snake section, bro.
Yeah, no, that's clean for sure. A little bit worried about the color scheme, though. Green and yellow.
Yeah, that could go bad very fast.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of good green and... I mean, the Packers, but...
The, Oregon. Oregon pulls off green and yellow pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, when they do the all green and then, like, the light yellow numbers without the outline around it, you know, when it's just, like, the matte numbers.
Oh, I got you.
Those look pretty sick, in my opinion. With, like... Not with the super light green, but with the green that's... just right in the middle, not too dark, not too light kind of thing.
I like that. We'll see about it. I wonder who's going to be making these uniforms, like if they got Nike or Under Armour. I know the AAF, what is it, they had Starter. The uniforms didn't look bad, but it's starters, so...
Yeah, if it's not a starter jacket, then...
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So another logo and team that I really like... The New York Guardians.
The Guardians looks sick. I completely agree with you.
Oh, yeah. Like, okay, from far away, it kind of looks like a black and gray lion with red eyes and teeth. But, so we had to watch the trailer, and it made more sense after watching the trailer, right? And that trailer was actually probably the best one.
Oh, the Guardians trailer was fantastic.
Yeah.
It got me pretty hyped.
Yeah, they had, like, all these flashes of gargoyles and stuff, and they're, like... New York City, the land, a new territory, and all that. You know, the whole masculinity thing. They're playing into that for sure. But no, it looks clean.
It does,
you know?
and I think gray, black with the red as an accent color.
Perfect.
Those are going to be some. If they mess up those uniforms, then there's no hope because that you cannot mess that up.
That's honestly that might be the easiest uniform to make.
Mm-hmm. And then the last team, the 8th team, is...
The Seattle Dragons?
Or they chose a different name, I think, right?
No, they're the
they
Seattle
are the Dragons? Huh.
It doesn't look like
Theirs kind of looks like a Loch Ness monster, but it's breathing fire, so, like, you get the gist of it.
Low-key, if you zoom out, it looks like a snake.
It looks more like a viper than the viper
yeah,
logo.
It looks more like a viper than the viper logo.
I feel like they definitely could have done more with the logo. Like... Just do, like, an outline with, like, the wings, I think would have been sick.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of looking...
Get that Game of Thrones vibe going?
Yeah. Or, like, Iron Fist kind of looking dragon.
Yeah, but... you're right. It's alright. You know, they go with the classic Seattle colors, blue and green.
Yeah.
You know
and with the orange accent, too. We'll see how that goes. They're going to probably
go bad real quick.
I'm trying to think. That does kind of come off as, like, a created team. That one in particular. But,
that sucks, though.
So, if we had to divide it into tiers, we'd say top tier is the Renegades and the Guardians. Yes. Probably is, like, the top tier.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, the second tier is probably the Battlehawks and the Vipers for, like, the logo and colors.
Yeah. That's fair.
Third tier, just the LA Wildcats team. And then the bottom tier is probably... the Defenders, the Dragons, and the Roughnecks.
Dude, see, watch the Dragons and the Defenders be the best teams in the league, and then the Renegades and Guardians suck.
Yeah, that's gonna stink, especially if they have the dopest unis.
I know, like...
I'm gonna support the cause and get a uni so that they can get some more players.
Yeah. Hey, right now, I'm gonna just say it for all of y'all, because I know some of y'all like calling people out, but I'm a Renegades fan, and I'm gonna say that right now. Even watch this not take off at all. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
The XFL cancels after 1 year, like the AAF.
Right, but like I'm riding with the Renegades / Guardians.
Right. I'm riding with the Battlehawks because
that's cool.
St. Louis is closest to Colorado, so as far as proximity goes, it makes the most sense. Yeah, St. Louis is closer to Colorado than I guess the LA Wildcats would be the next closest, but
okay. All right.
I don't know. It's the Midwest vibe. It's the Midwest vibe. But
so the draft for this, I believe, is in November, so we could definitely cover that.
Yeah, and we might have live stream reactions and stuff like that. But
yes.
All right. So you got Kodey Stauffer, the Battlehawks fan,
and Simon Villeneuve, the Renegades fan,
and we're coming at you with one last segment, talking a little bit of baseball and recent news just around the sports scene.
Yes, sir.
And welcome back to the last segment of the cycle. I'm your co-host, Kodey Stauffer.
And I'm your other co-host, Simon Villeneuve.
And just as a reminder, you can find us on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at KODES8088 on Twitter. You can find me at KODEYSTAUFFER on Instagram as well as Facebook.
And you could follow me on my social media. I'm pretty sure on Instagram and Twitter, it's all Simon_Villeneuve, all lowercase.
All right.
All right, so right now we're going to talk about MLB, give y'all a little bit of an update, and, what's going on. So, take it away.
All right, so, Simon, I know you're not too awfully familiar with baseball.
Nope.
But this is an exciting time to pay attention because there's more home runs than ever.
Okay.
The game is really fast-paced. People either strike out or they hit a dinger, basically, is the status of the league right now.
All right.
And the wild card race is really tight. So what happens is there's 5 teams that make the playoffs, one from each division. So there's 3 divisions per conference. So you have the AL, which is the American League, the NL, National League, and then you have East, Central, and West.
Right.
So the division winner from those 3, that's 3 of the teams, and then 2 teams play 1 wild card game, and whoever wins advances.
Just 1? Okay. All right.
It's not a series, like it's do or die in the wild card.
That's crazy. Okay.
It's pretty exciting, and currently in the wild card race, there's 4 teams that are in the running for the American League. So Tampa Bay is up a half a game on the A's for the first wild card spot, and the A's and the Indians are tied for the second wild card spot right now.
Okay.
And the Red Sox are 6.5 games out. So there's still 30 or so games left, and the Red Sox schedule is looking a little tough. So they really have to try to make the playoffs, and they're the defending World Series champions as well.
Right, yeah.
So you figure that they would make it. They definitely have the talent to, but one of their ace pitchers has been having a rough year, and he's just been ruled out for the season because he had to get some injections in his elbow.
Oof. Okay.
And then in the National League, we have a really close race. There's currently 8 teams that are very plausible that are within 10 games of the second wildcard spot. So the Nationals currently are the highest up. They're 2 games ahead of the Cubs for the first wildcard spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mets are 2 games back from the Cubs. The Phillies are 2.5. The Brewers are 3 games. And the Diamondbacks are 5.5 games back, with the Giants being 6 games back. So it's really tight in the NL right now, and there's still a lot of baseball to play as well.
Right, 30 games, right?
Yeah, 30 games.
Okay.
And it's really hard to see the Nationals not making the postseason. They've had a lot of help at the bat and at the bag. But if you look at the NL Central specifically, you have the Cardinals and the Cubs, who both are at 69 wins right now. And then the Brewers are at 66, and they were in the playoffs last year. They actually are the team that eliminated the Rockies in the...
I shouldn't be laughing, I'm sorry, but okay.
Yeah, wow, bro. Where's that Colorado support?
Well, I'm not from here, so...
Yeah, likely excuse, bro. So, the NL's really close. So, basically, if the Cardinals fall below the Cubs, the Cardinals are still going to make the playoffs, probably, as a wild card team.
Okay.
And the NL Central, depending if the Nationals start to slip up, the NL Central could send 3 teams. Or, if the Mets step up over the Cubs or the Brewers, the NL East could send 3 teams. And it's pretty unheard of for, like, one division to send 3 teams.
Right, yeah. So, like, kind of like football, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Where, you know, one team wins the division, and then the other 2 take the wild card slots.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So,
Sweet.
It's super tight this year. And the Cardinals are looking really good because in their last 10, you can see they've gone 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been a really streaky team. I believe in the month of August, as of a couple days ago, they were 26-16, which is a really good month in baseball. But like the previous month, they were like 16-32 or something like that.
Oof, okay.
So they've been really streaky. So this last month of baseball into September is very crucial for this Cardinals team if they hope to make the playoffs. And they've been on a little bit of a drought the past couple of years. Is basically where we're sitting at. So, with your lack of baseball knowledge,
let's do it.
Who do you think are going to be the representatives from the National League and then the American League? Because, okay, the Braves and the Dodgers are a lock. All right.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are one of 2 teams in baseball, I think. 3 teams in baseball who have over 80 wins.
Right.
So the Dodgers and the Braves are a lock, unless you think the Nationals are going to win that division. But who do you think is going to pull out the NL Central? Because all 3 of these teams, the Cardinals and the Cubs have to play each other twice. 2 series in the next month. 1 in St. Louis, 1 in Chicago.
Series? So like multiple games, right?
Yeah.
So just pick one of them. I like know nothing about players and stuff in baseball, so you know we're just gonna. I'm
just wing it, and if it hits, then it hits. You know, it's like a roulette wheel.
Hey, this is like a shot in the dark, literally. I'm gonna go with the Cubs. I don't know why. Like I can't explain it, you know. But I think I'm gonna go with. Wait, right? You said Central.
Yeah, for the NL Central. So to win the division. You got the Cubs winning the division?
Cubs.
I mean, they're right there. You can see it in the box score.
Right, easily.
And then...
the Brewers are there, but I think I'm going to go Cubs.
The Brewers have one of the harder schedules down the stretch, if I recall correctly. So I personally don't think the Brewers are going to be able to even get into the wild card.
Okay.
I feel like it's going to be... Like, so if you say the Cubs are going to win the division, the Cardinals are probably going to be a wild card team.
Right, yeah, because they're so close.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they'll play 1 game against the Nationals, more than likely.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Cubs.
And then, who are your 2 wild card teams? Do you think the Cardinals are still going to make it? Or do you think that the Mets... I know that you saw a little bit of highlights a bit earlier. DeGrom is straight dealing, but they need more help at the bag. Because their pitching's fine, they're just not getting enough runs. But that could be enough to make a postseason push at the same time.
Right, yeah. So, probably St. Louis Cardinals. Is that right?
Yeah, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, yeah.
We're learning things today,
I'm trying,
baby.
I'm
gotta get Simon into baseball by the time Rocktober comes around. Well, it won't be Rocktober this year, but like...
Yeah, St. Louis Cardinals, or, you know, the Cubs, whoever. Actually, I just said Cubs. Yeah, so St. Louis Cardinals. And then the other one... I mean, it'd have to be the Nationals, right?
They're a really good ball club this year.
It'd probably have to be the Nationals, yeah.
And then, who do you think are your AL teams?
So, I might be wrong, but the Indians traded for Yasiel Puig, didn't they? But what's up with him? Is he even good anymore? I remember back in the day with the Dodgers, back in the day, like a couple years ago.
He was just traded, but he was traded to the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, whoops. Well, they're both in Ohio.
Oh, but he is on the Indians, though, now.
Ah, okay, there you go, yeah.
So if you think he might be the difference maker...
I think he will be,
down the stretch.
So I'm going to pick Indians.
All right, and then the Twins probably to make the wild card, or
if they don't, then.
yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty tight at the top for the AL.
Yeah.
And you can never write off Boston.
Yeah, I mean, there's 30 games, so we'll have to see. But I think I'm gonna kick it with the Indians right now, and then Minnesota, they'll be right behind them. So.
All right, so Simon learned a bit about baseball today.
Trying to.
And that does it for this episode of the Cycle 365.
Yes, sir.
It's your co-host, Cody Stoffer.
And this is your other co-host, Simon Villanos.
We're signing off.
Peace.